You guys, there wasn't 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5 musical numbers in this movie. And even though they said interval, there was no intermission. On the plus side, we did get 2 Shah Rukh Khans for the price of 1 ticket. So there's that. You guys, this movie, I'm looking at the notes I took, and I have more cons than pros. However, I did enjoy the heck out of this film, which is really weird. It's way too much with the musical numbers. I think if they had trimmed all of those out, this film would probably have been 20 minutes shorter. There was even a musical number in the end credit scene, y'all. Okay, I'm diving into the cons a little bit too quickly, but I just can't seem to help myself. So, Jawan, this is Shah Rukh Khan's latest movie. He was in Pathaan. It was either earlier this year or it was late last year. Gosh, I can't remember. I thought it was last year, but now I'm questioning myself. Anyway, I had read that before Pathaan came out, he had been on a 5-year break. And it really seems like he's making up for his absence with these 2 films. Now, I admit I had no idea who this guy was until Pathaan came out. And then I found out he's a big deal in India. Okay, like huge. So, and honestly, I get it. I get why he's a big deal in India. This guy has a lot of charisma. He has a lot of fun to watch. He's got a very magnetic personality on screen. Pretty good comedic timing. He's beautiful to look at, and he's a decent actor. Now, you have to consider the fact that there's a lot of silliness and ridiculousness that goes on in Indian cinema, especially the Hindi Indian cinema, which might be Bollywood. I can't remember. Anyway, I know there's these different factions, and I was spoiled, as I've said repeatedly, by Manal Murali, and came to expect that more Indian cinema should be that solid when it comes to reality-ish based storytelling. And I think the worst I've seen so far was Agent. That's the one I walked out of. Even though Pathaan was crazy, over the top, and ridiculous, and in many ways, so was Jawan, whatever. It means soldier or warrior or something like that. This was almost equally as ridiculous, but I think I enjoyed this a little bit more than Pathaan, and that mostly because I felt more of a connection emotionally to the characters and the story in here. That really was something that I think notches this film a bit above Pathaan. Now, like I said, I have more cons, but anyway. Oh, what is it, Arturo?
What's going on? I want to hear you.
I'm doing a review for the latest Indian movie. It's got the same actor who was in Pathaan. Yeah. There's a new one. There's a new song now. That's the one that goes with this movie.
I'll let you continue.
What was I saying? Oh, I was saying that, as I had mentioned earlier, yes, I have more cons, but there's something about these crazy films that's enjoyable. Now, I can't go so far as to say that the musical numbers are enjoyable. You guys, I do not. I don't get it. It just takes me completely out of the moment when they throw these things in there. Like I said before, I know it's a thing. I don't get why it's a thing, and I don't like that it's a thing. To me, this really, it kind of degrades the quality of the filmmaking, and it almost feels like it's cheapening the storyline and the production, and it's just, I don't know. I just don't get it. I guess there's just something culturally about it that just goes right over my head. I don't get it, and I don't appreciate it. Even though the cinematography of these musical numbers, it's well done. Obviously the groups of dancing people but it's well done. They make sure to get him at his most beautiful moments, during all the scenes, and the girls too, obviously. But I just can't with it. I can't. I just can't. I was getting ready to say something else, and I got completely sidetracked by my rant about the musical numbers. So maybe I'll remember it. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I wanted to touch on the pros a little bit more. I've already I've already gone over his acting performance. He's definitely got it. He's got that star quality to him. Something else that was kind of cool was to see that the chick who played in Pathaan with him had a cameo in here as well, an extended cameo. I can't remember her name. It starts with a D. Deep. Oh, I can't remember. She's gorgeous. She's the same one who played in Pathaan as the main love interest, and that was the first time I noticed her as an actor. But I also found out that they have apparently been in multiple films together, so they seem to be maybe not necessarily an item off screen, but they're definitely paired together pretty often in movies. Though from what I read, he's been in 90 movies, so this guy has a very prolific acting career. The cinematography is gorgeous. As with Pathaan, there was a crap ton of slow-mo, a bit too much, y'all. Yeah, it does serve to highlight cool moments, but it's overdone. Yeah, it's overdone. Not as bad as Agent. Agent was terrible, but it's about the same as with Pathaan. You know, I guess they really just enjoy using slow-mo so they can highlight the gorgeousness of the actors, the coolness of the fight cinematography, and just the coolness of the whole scene in general. But after a while, after having seen Pathaan and then Agent and then Jawan, it's a bit much for me. And I'm just wondering, are there any films this actor's in that have been kind of rooted in a bit more reality and less of the over-the-top slow-mo and musical numbers? I mean, I do like to watch him. He's the main reason that a movie like this was as enjoyable as it was, despite the issues I had with it. Just like with Pathaan, it veers into John Wicky territory that had me rolling my eyes. The musical numbers had me rolling my eyes. I was just mentally checked out of that. But the gorgeousness of the cinematography and the magnetic personality of the main actor, it actually makes up for those things. Oh, and also I think I like the story of this a bit more than I did Pathaan. There's these multifaceted aspects to it that are interesting. I did not realize initially when I found out about this movie and bought the ticket for the movie. Well, I was confused. I saw a picture of the poster and I saw him and I'm like, wow, this looks like Pathaan. And I opened it up and I was like, well, maybe I'm confused. Maybe the movie app had the poster wrong, got the wrong actor's face. I didn't realize it was him. He was back. But when I bought the ticket, I didn't realize until I think it was maybe Polly's out of the theater reaction to this film, Polly from Latino Slant, where he indicated that Shah Rukh Khan was playing two characters. So I almost wish I hadn't known that going into it. It didn't really ruin the experience, but I knew what to expect. So when there's two Shah Rukh Khans in here, it didn't surprise me. It was supposed to be like a little plot twist, but it wasn't really at the time that it happened. Basically, the story is, it starts off where this guy's body is floating in the river and he floats by this kid and I guess his mother. They save him, they bring him back to the village and they take care of him, and he's in a coma for months, and then something happens and he wakes up, and then more stuff happens after he wakes up, and then it says 30 years later. So I was like, wait, what? 30 years later? And then of course I realized what was going on, and it picks up 30 years later, and this terrorist group is holding a train hostage, and they have all these demands, and then there's this chick who's like the head of the police or security or whatever, and she's trying to track down this terrorist group that's headed by Shah Rukh Khan #2, and there's also these little romantic things that are going on with her character, and then there's all these different storylines or things happening with regard to why the terrorists are doing what they're doing. And it delves into really deep, an attempt at deep messaging about things like voting and government corruption and government mismanagement of money and how the people suffer because of things like that. It has all these different elements. It's got action, it's got romance, it's got some comedy, cute little lighthearted moments, of course the music video stuff, which let's not even count that. And then it's got also this attempt at having these important messages that are put across. to the viewers. And so I felt like it did a decent job-ish at handling all of these things. Towards the end though, like this final thing that's going on, it feels a bit, I don't know, that part of it didn't really flow quite as well. It didn't really come across as convincing to me as far as the messaging. I mean, I got the messaging, but just the way it was handled was just like, I don't know, this isn't working as well as the stuff that happened earlier. Almost felt like things were a bit rushed, even though this movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes. Certain moments did feel rushed, especially right at the end with their final sort of terroristic act of doing the stuff that they're doing. And so story-wise, that was kind of a little bit of a blip in the narrative for me. I mean, I didn't hate it. And honestly, I don't know if by the time that happened, I was ready for the movie to be over, but I don't think that's accurate because, in all honesty, this movie didn't feel boring, not one moment. I did look at my watch only to see if I could figure out when the intermission was going to come. Having said that, I'm now going to delve into the con territory because one of the cons about this for me is that it said there was an interval. I was told when the interval / intermission was going to be. It even it says interval on the screen with the at the scene, and it's like a stopped and it said interval. So I got up to go take a break, and no, it actually continued on. There was never an intermission. It did not stop, which is weird because in Pathaan, they actually had an honest to goodness intermission, like about a 5 to 10 minute intermission. But not in this one, even though they said they did. So I don't know if that was like a movie theater thing. I don't know if the movie theater didn't do the intermission because of how late the showtime was. This was a 7:40 movie, which meant it didn't start until close to 8 o'clock, which meant it wasn't going to be done until like 10:40, 10:45. Anyway, that was frustrating. So I walked out and I came back in. I was thinking when I walked out, oh, they're showing like maybe a trailer or some other sort of promo-y thing. No, it was the movie still. And then when I came back in, there was more stuff going on. So I don't know what I missed. I missed a few minutes of a scene. I'm not exactly sure what that was. So that was kind of an issue. Some other stuff I had problems with. There's a scene where the character, he's been in a coma for months. It said months. And then something happens. I'm getting a touch spoilery here, but something happens, and not only does he get revived out of his coma, but he's able to kick ass right away, like completely kick ass right away. No. While the scenes of him kicking ass were cool, like this right here, it didn't work for me because my brain was going, yeah, but he's been in a coma for months. And he's not a superhero. He's just supposed to be this guy. I thought, no. So that was an issue. Then there was other things that happened, like there's a scene where someone's being hit with this lock, this heavy lock, like a big heavy, not like a little tiny thing, though that would still hurt, but like this big heavy metal lock on a chain multiple times in the face and only very minor reddening on the face. No, that would be splitting skin. There would be blood all over the place. There would be massive swelling very quickly. So it's frustrating that sometimes the filmmakers don't make the effort here and stuff like this. These things add up to me. Then there was another crazy motorcycle scene that happens with a character in here that reminded me a lot of this crazy motorcycle stuff going on in Pathaan, and I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is a cool shot, but it's just too over the top for me to appreciate and enjoy. Something else that bothered me a bit was there's a scene where this woman faints. Something is getting ready to happen, and she faints. And so they're like, oh, did she have a panic attack or something like that? And the doctor checks her pulse and there's like, no, she didn't have a panic attack or whatever. She's pregnant. How the hell did she know the woman was pregnant? There was no examination done on her. They're just like, she's pregnant. All of a sudden, they just know she's pregnant. What? Please at least make a little bit more effort to be realistic. I was just like, no. So yeah, that was frustrating. Even though I knew this character was going to be, just the way that was pulled off, that didn't work. Another thing that bothered me a bit, and I didn't realize it until I was double checking the pictures, but there is a character in here, and maybe this ties into stuff I missed when I walked out, or maybe there was some editing stuff that is at play here, but or like cuts. There's a character that it showed him when I saw him. He was in a car. His picture here, he's sitting beside a cheetah. He looks like Bane, right? He's got this mask thing on his face. I don't know who this dude was. Who was he? Also, I never saw the scene of him with the cheetah. Maybe that was in the stuff I missed when I stepped out really quick, but I don't know it, and I only saw him in the car, and I don't know if something just went right over my head, but I don't know who the heck this guy was. I have no clue. He didn't show up for a really cool fight scene or anything. He was just sitting down talking, and I was confused, very confused. These were things that were just kind of like got under my skin. This guy right here, who was he? What did I miss? Who the heck was he? Anyway, the cons, though numerous, they really weren't enough to make me despise the film. The pros, while not as numerous as the cons, are enough. They keep me pulled into the story and appreciating the visual spectacle on the screen, while I couldn't do that with a movie like John Wick 4. Because in John Wick 4, it was super over the top with all of the stuff. And like this is... But John Wick 4 is like on steroids over the top ridiculousness. Plus, I didn't feel the emotional connection with the characters in John Wick 4 like I did with the characters in here, and also even in Pathaan, even though I felt more, I liked the storyline here more. It just felt more compelling to me. So it's weird to have all these cons, but yet appreciate it at the same time. I would love to see him in an action-y type of film where things aren't way over the top and crazy. But maybe that's just not a thing that ever happens with the movie industry. Because there's all these different types of movie industries in India. Maybe his type never allows for something like that, which is a little frustrating because I do like to watch him. He's fun. He is entertaining. And he's definitely got that vibe, that pull that keeps you wanting to watch him. But it's just frustrating that there's these things that kind of drag this film down for me. I think if they had cut out all the music video scenes, if they cut out some of the ridiculous over-the-top stuff that's just like, no, like, okay, I can handle one or two in a movie. When it gets to be numerous, it starts to frustrate me. I feel like I would have enjoyed this movie so much more if a lot of that stuff that I'm complaining about hadn't been part of it. Because the technical aspects of this film, the movie makers here, they do a really good job at stuff like that. And knowing how to frame shots, knowing how to get the actors to have these really cool performances and everything. But these things that seem to be really an embedded part of Indian cinema, especially this type of cinema, to me, they're not an asset. To me, they don't help the story. That's why even if I continue to watch movies like this, I will continue to complain about the stuff like that. And it might be that I get to the point where it's just too much and I eventually just stop watching these types of movies. I want to watch more movies like Manal Murali. I think I either read or someone told me that the movie industry that Manal Murali came from was Mollywood. And that one has not only a compelling storyline and good acting, but much less of this stuff that bothers me about these types of movies. The musical numbers in here, as I've already mentioned, I forgot to say something about them, was that only one of them was not cringe. All the other four were. So yeah, could someone please explain to me, what is it? What is it with these music videos that they throw in the middle of this? Like, I think it would be perfect if they just removed those and just had those as like music video promos, like on an MTV type of channel. That would be so much better. Someone said, made a comment on one of my videos about how Indian movies are extra. Well, these types of films definitely are. And when I was leaving the movie theater, walking to my car, I was kind of like laughing to myself at just the ridiculousness of some of this stuff. But at the same time, shaking my head, it's like, well, I enjoyed it. It was still fun, despite a lot of these issues. So it's weird. A mixed bag for sure. But I mean, look at this. Some of these shots were just gorgeous. They really were very pleasing to the eyes. And not just because like of the, let's say, beautiful faces of the actors, but just the way the shot is put on the screen. Your eyes, or my eyes, just really liked it. And so, that's one of the pros that helped keep it from driving me nuts. Okay, I don't think I have anything else. I definitely did not mean to talk about it this long. I thought maybe I'd only be talking about it 5 to 10 minutes, but I think I've gone on quite a bit longer than that. So I am going to wrap this up. We'll see you guys later. Adios.